push for preschool in Idaho hits another roadblock.
This after the state decides not to apply for millions of federal dollars. A big disappointment to many who believe pre-K is one of the keys to fixing Idaho's education system. Tonight, I'm on your side getting answers from the governor himself.
1, 2, 3, 4. You need 2 more.
At Garden Valley Elementary, 4-year-olds are learning how to learn. Tuition-free preschool classrooms like this one are rare in Idaho. That's because the Gem State spends no money on pre-K. If a school district wants to teach its youngest, it must foot the bill.
It's not rocket science, really. It's things that we need to do for our kids.
The nonprofit group Idaho Voices for Children is pushing for the state to support voluntary preschool.
Getting our kids ready for school is every bit as important as making sure they do well K through 12.
With education funding strapped, the organization found a way for Idaho to develop an early learning program without spending any state money. A federal grant offered the state a chance to receive $60 million. The money could be used to research how best to implement high-quality preschool services.
To me, it was a win-win situation and a real missed opportunity.
Idaho didn't go after the cash. The final decision rested with Governor Butch Otter. So, right. Governor, why did you decide not to apply for it?
Well, Michelle, when you look at it, we've always struggled with were we doing economically, financially. Were we doing all we could for K through 12, K through career now we call it. And if not, why would we add a whole new burden onto a system that was already underfinanced?
40 other states set aside some money in their budgets to support preschool. The 10 other states that don't fund pre-K were eligible for the federal grant. Of those, 4 of them, Arizona, Hawaii, Montana, and New Hampshire, applied. Simmons believes Idaho would have had a good shot at the money.
It does seem like pretty good odds.
Governor Otter says he consulted the State Board of Education and Superintendent Tom Luna before passing on the grant. Otter says his focus is on the 20 K through 12 recommendations from his education task force.
And I guess that's the other thing too, Michelle. I don't want to take any attention off of fixing what we've got.
We do have some great recommendations that came out of that education task force. However, most of the research tells us if these kids aren't ready when they go into kindergarten, it is so much more difficult to move them along through the K-12 system.
That research prompted a bipartisan preschool bill during the last legislative session. Boise Representative High Clock wants the state to run a small pilot pre-K program to see if investing in early learning saves the state money in the long run. His bill asked for $1.5 million. It never received a full vote. When Clock heard about the federal grant,
boy, did we miss an opportunity.
He saw it as a possible answer.
And that would have funded the pilot program for those 4 years and wouldn't have cost the state a penny.
Clock plans to push preschool again in January, and he's already seeing support from both sides of the aisle, law enforcement, and the business community.
The key is having the will within the state to want to move this forward.
Here we go.
Garden Valley administrators and teachers give their public preschool an A+ and have the test scores to prove it. They say no matter what happens at the Capitol, their district will continue to give 4-year-olds the building blocks for a successful future.
Did you use a pen with Mrs. Jones, huh?
The governor made it clear to me he's not against voluntary preschool. It's just not his focus. Now, that said, after our interview, his office reached out to Idaho Voices for Children to see about possible next steps for early learning. I'll keep you posted on what happens.
Well, $60 million is a lot. How much would a voluntary preschool actually cost?
You know, those numbers are hard. They're not set in stone. So one possible comparison for you might be to look at kindergarten, which of course is still voluntary in Idaho. You don't have to send your kids to kindergarten. So the Department of Education told me that the state spends about $47 million a year on kindergarten. That accounts for less than 4% of the total school's budget.
Is there a chance of getting more money down the road?
Some would say hopefully.
Some are hoping.
We'll see.